Hi, welcome to Expert Talks with the Mind Journal. I'm Dr. Karen Finn, and I'm so happy that I get to be here today to chat with you. Our topic today is surviving infidelity. And surviving means different things to different people. Surviving could mean that the relationship ends and you each move forward in your own direction. Surviving can also mean that the infidelity is the extra thing that y'all needed to really take a deep look at your relationship and figure out how to make it better. I know couples who have gone both directions, and it's not always an easy decision. It's not always a quick decision. And I think a big reason for all of the angst about it is that infidelity, cheating, is just not something that any of us plan to have happen when we enter into a committed relationship with someone, especially if it's a marriage, where you've pledged to be true till you take your last breath. So I think the best way for us to start is to think about the emotions that are involved in infidelity. And it may seem counterintuitive, but I'd like to start with the question, how does cheating affect the cheater? Because I think most of us just assume that the cheater's just having the time of their lives, having a great thrill, doing whatever the heck it is they want to do, and that there's nothing really negative that's happening for them. Well, it's not always the case. For some people it is. For some people, they don't have any remorse about it. And those are usually the people who wind up without their original relationship. But for others, the cheating often does have negative emotional consequences, especially when they consider how their actions impact others. And others are usually more than just their partners. So let's talk about the painful emotions that they can experience. So they can experience anxiety, they can experience guilt, shame, worry, regret, confusion, embarrassment, and even self-loathing. And as a result of the competing emotions of all this negativity that they're feeling, along with the thrill that they're probably feeling with the affair that they're having, they often will live two completely different lives, at least as long as their affair continues. The one life is where they feel the addictive ecstasy of love or lust, and one where they feel hatred for kind of what they're doing and what they're causing to those that they love or also love, right? And this puts extreme stress on them and their marriages. And it's this sense of unease that their spouse or partner will often pick up on, and which causes them to suspect that there's something not quite right. And this sense of unease is what adds even more anxiety, guilt, shame, worry, regret, confusion, embarrassment, and self-loathing to the person that's cheating. So once the affair comes to light, the wayward partner or spouse will be on the receiving end of their spouse's anger and distrust, usually. And sometimes this anger and distrust can even become somewhat abusive. So it's really, really difficult for them, because no one deserves to be abused. They do deserve to have an understanding of how their actions have impacted their partner, but not to the point of abuse. There is a difference. So, of course, being on the receiving end of the expression of their spouse's or partner's pain can often be too much for them. And if it is, they usually follow one of two paths. The first path is they may actually blame their spouse for making them cheat. Have you ever heard somebody do that before? Yeah. It's kind of a way of denial. It's not taking responsibility for their actions. And frankly, it's not very mature either. And that's not a judgment. It's just a matter of they don't yet have the skill set to know how to take full responsibility for their actions. The other extreme is that they may feel that they deserve the punishment. They accept it as just, and they live out the rest of their lives as just a mere shadow of their true selves. And neither one of these extremes, like all extremes, is necessarily the best path forward, right? It's usually something in between after an affair has been disclosed or discovered that provides the most healing possibility for everyone who's involved. And when I say everyone who's involved, there's a lot more than just the cheater, the affair partner, the betrayed spouse. There are other people who will probably weigh in and judge the cheating person, in-laws, siblings, their parents, friends, coworkers, and maybe even their children, depending on their age. So the bottom line is that how cheating affects the cheater is incredibly painful and complicated. And a lot of it has to do with how they and their spouse choose to work through this behavior, this event, these events that have happened in the midst of their relationship. So that's the one side. That's the spouse who is strayed. The other spouse or partner is the one who has been betrayed. And, you know, for a lot of people, it can be difficult to understand why being betrayed is so painful and confusing. Usually, the folks that I have worked with choose to work with me when their spouse has betrayed them or their partner has betrayed them, because all the input they're getting from those closest to them is just leave, don't look back, leave as quickly as you can. And for most people, that's not the best response, because you don't want to do something in haste or when you're overly emotional that you may regret. So most people need to slow it down, despite the fact that the pain of betrayal that they're going through, they feel mentally, emotionally, and physically. And truthfully, some people actually experience PTSD as a result of being betrayed. So it's a really big deal. And just what makes it so painful is that there's all kinds of things that have been destroyed or ripped away from them, right? So here are 12 of those things that could be causing the betrayed spouse to hurt so incredibly much. The first one is that your expectations for what it means to be married or in a committed relationship have been violated, right? Most people, when they choose to enter into a committed relationship, choose to be monogamous. That's one of the foundational blocks of it. And when that's not there, you don't know what you have, because that's what you base that type of committed relationship on. Another reason why it's so painful is that the betrayed spouse feels resistance about having to deal with the change that's been thrust at them. I mean, you know, their life's going along just fine. All of a sudden they find out that their partner's been cheating. Wow, that throws everything in a tizzy. And it's kind of like, well, why don't they have to deal with it? It's their action, and now I get stuck having to figure out what to do. And they feel resistance and sometimes even resentment at having to deal with it. The next reason why it's so painful is that these folks are afraid that the life that they loved, the life they thought they had, is over, and that they're going to be living with this tremendous pain for the rest of their lives. I'll talk more about this later, but yeah, they don't have to, although it is incredibly painful right now. The next item on my list is that emotional security has been ripped away. You know how it is when you're in a committed relationship, you have each other's back. You're comfortable telling each other your deepest secrets because it's kind of a safe place. Well, when you find out that your partner hasn't been forthright or truthful with you about one of the most fundamental things to a relationship, you just don't feel like you can trust them. And that's pretty normal. That infidelity will also cause the betrayed partner to question what was real. So when their partner said, "I love you," did they really? Right? You have to wonder what's true, what was real. Were they really with you? Were they thinking about the other person or other people, depending on the type of infidelity that you're dealing with? So it's really a strange place to be uncertain of what's real. Betrayed spouses can also feel guilty. They feel guilty because they think, well, if I would have done this, or if I'd done that, or I should have known, or I should have, could have, would have, all that stuff that comes up because they think that if they had just been different, then their partner would not have behaved like they did. And the truth is, there are probably things that you could have done if you're the betrayed spouse to make your relationship better, but that's not anything you can do anything about in the past. You can just look at it as something that you might be able to shift moving forward if y'all decide to work on rebuilding your relationship. The next painful piece of being the betrayed partner is that you're racked by grief, right? When your expectations are shattered, you don't know what was real anymore, when your emotional security has been ripped away, when the life that you loved is no longer there, of course you're going to feel grief. Of course you're going to feel the whole grief cycle of the anger and the betrayal that brings up the denial and just the whole shebang. And hopefully you do get to the point of forgiveness, not condoning the behavior, but forgiveness so that it doesn't hold its grip on you for the rest of your life. The other thing that often happens to folks who have been betrayed by their partners is that their self-esteem plummets because of thoughts of, wasn't I good enough? Am I not worthy of being loved? Those types of questions just come up again and again and again, especially when the imagination torments the betrayed spouse with thoughts of what their partner and their affair partner did together. So it's just kind of this nasty little spiral that really hurts and impacts every facet of your life. If you're the betrayed partner, you're probably also embarrassed once people find out what's been going on. There's nothing that you can do. You don't want people to feel sorry for you. You don't want people to talk behind your back. So it makes sense that you'd feel embarrassed. You also, if you're the betrayed spouse, probably want your spouse or partner to pay for what they've done. Pay not monetarily necessarily, but to pay emotionally, to have their life be as miserable as you feel yours is now. That sense of retribution, right? That it's kind of an eye for an eye kind of thing is really a big deal. In fact, there are some spouses that I've talked to who have gone out and had their own affairs based on the fact that their spouse had an affair. Probably not the healthiest reaction to it, but it's an understandable reaction and something that you definitely can move forward for from and put in the right perspective so that you can move on. But again, it's that painful that people will often do things that they thought they would never do. The last really big thing that makes infidelity so painful to the betrayed partner is just the conglomeration of all the negative emotions. In fact, they can be so big that health can suffer, right? You know, when you're feeling a lot of grief, sometimes it can be hard to eat, or it can be hard to stop eating, right? It can be hard to sleep. It can be hard to want to do anything at all because you feel depressed. And as a result of that, your health can truly suffer. So, in other words, if I had to sum this up, why infidelity is so painful to the betrayed spouse, and this is important because a lot of people who cheat don't really get this, right? Being betrayed by your partner strikes at the core of what you thought your life was. And it will take tremendous effort to put your life back together again in a new way, either with or without your partner. So I hope that's helping to shed some light on the emotions that are involved and the state of affairs that actually are swirling around the two people who have a relationship that's been broken by the betrayal, right? So another question that I think is important to try to help understand all the different things that go into cheating is for us to discuss a little bit about why cheating husbands choose to stay married. Okay. I've worked over the years with a few straying husbands, and it seems to come down to three basic reasons why they choose to continue to cheat and stay married. The first one is that they truly love their wife, and yet they want something more in their lives that they're either not able to discuss with their wife or that she's not able to provide for them. And it may be as obvious as the sexual experience, the type of sexual experience, or it may be something as simple as just needing to have a little bit more excitement and availability to do things, right? So it's not always only sexual. There can be other components to it. The next one is related to the fact that they really love their wife, but it's a little bit different than that too, because the reason that they've told me that they stay is that they're afraid to hurt their wife. And what they're failing to understand is that on some level, their wife already knows that they're cheating. And so they already are hurting their wife. And then the third one is the one that I think most people probably suspect as being a reason why cheating husbands choose to stay married. And it's that they don't want to have to deal with the financial implications of divorce, right? Now, none of these reasons for continuing to cheat and staying married excuses the infidelity by any stretch of the imagination. I just wanted to share this with y'all so it can be a bit more information that you have to begin to understand the reasons that men have given to me for why they cheat, right? And again, doesn't excuse it. It's just how they're thinking about what they're doing. So the final question that I have prepared for us to talk about today is one that I alluded to a little bit earlier. And it's the question, will the pain of infidelity ever go away? Now, I need to tell you that I am a very big believer in that it's not a matter of time makes everything better. It's a matter of decision making and taking action that makes things better. So yes, the pain of infidelity can go away. It requires concerted effort and awareness and a decision continuously for a while that you will make things better, that you will move forward with your life, either with or without your partner, and you will do it as respectfully for all involved as possible. And remember, there's all kinds of people involved. There's the two in the primary relationship. There's the person in the extramarital or extracurricular relationship. There's the extended family. There's the extended community, right? So there's all kinds of things that need to happen, but the first pieces of respect have to be to yourself. You have to be able to feel good about yourself and how you're choosing to move forward. Whether that means repairing your relationship because now you both have something more to look at about how you can improve your relationship, or if it's going your separate ways and moving forward to find your happiness in a different way. So that's all that I had planned, and I would love to hear any questions that you all may have about surviving infidelity. Okay, so how should I do about that boy who's really falling in love with me? And I should love him back, but we have never communicated on the phone. I mean, we just talked about work stuff, about 3 or 4 sentences, and he is my colleague. Okay, so the question is, are you in a committed relationship? If you are in a committed relationship and you're feeling attracted to someone else, you owe it to your partner to let them know that either you don't want to have a relationship anymore or that you need to improve your relationship so you don't feel the pull towards someone else. I hope that helps. And it's pretty straightforward, I know. It'd be a whole lot easier, if we had a conversation about it, but I'm hopeful that you can get a little bit of help from that brief answer. What other questions do you have? Well, let me expand on that last question just a little bit then. I think it's really important to notice if you're feeling attracted to someone outside of your relationship, because it helps you to recognize that something needs to change with your relationship. The change may be that the relationship isn't the right relationship for you, or the change may be that y'all have an opportunity to better communicate about what's really important to you in a relationship and how you each feel loved, right? So one of the easiest ways to communicate how you each interpret love is to use Gary Chapman's work on the love languages. And for a lot of folks, once they understand what their love language is and what their partner's love language is, it makes a really big difference in the quality of relationship that they have and how connected they feel to each other. Are there any other questions? No. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like there are any other questions. I know it can be really tough to have a question to ask about a topic like this. Oh, good. Here's one more. Is it possible to go back to normal after cheating in a relationship? I mean, I can't do it, but on the other hand, I still think I should do it. Okay. So here's the thing. After cheating, right, it is impossible to go back to the same exact relationship, right? So things will be different. It's a matter of working together to make it a better different so that you both feel good about continuing the relationship. But yeah, that normal ship has kind of sailed, right? So it's never going to be like it was. It can be different, and different doesn't mean bad. Different can mean really good. Or, you know, as I mentioned before, different can mean that it just doesn't exist anymore. It will take a lot of effort in either case, right? So it's not like one path forward is easier than the other, because there's still all the implications of the infidelity that have to be dealt with. But you can move forward and have a good relationship if that's what you both choose to do. And maybe one of the things I need to mention here is that one of the foundational items to being able to move forward together after infidelity is that the betraying partner needs to have genuine remorse about their actions. If there's not genuine remorse, then there's no way that the relationship can really thrive going forward, and it probably does need to end. Again, that's probably not an immediate decision that can be made. As I spoke about a little bit earlier, it probably needs a little bit of time to be thoughtfully considered, you know, as to how much remorse is there. What other questions do y'all have? Oh, wow, Sheila, that's a challenge right there. Yeah. So a lot of the work when your spouse dies or your partner dies while cheating, really, I mean, it's all on you, right? It's all on you and how you choose to view the situation. What will bring you the most peace? And what will enable you to move forward with your life in the healthiest, happiest way possible. And it's not I can't give you step 1, 2, and 3. I can give you broad strokes as to what needs to happen. The first step will be accepting that that is what happened. Looking at how the relationship may not have been everything that you both desired. So on your side, and imagining what may have been missing on his side. And the reason why that's important is because it will allow you to better understand what you may have contributed to an unhappy marriage or relationship, so that going forward you can choose to do differently, right? And it's from that point of being able to choose that you have the real power to change your experience of the past. I know it's a little bit of hand-wavy kind of stuff, but that's really what it comes down to, is you can allow the past and other people's actions to hold you hostage, right? And keep you stuck in that misery. Or you can choose to change your perspective of it, right? Look for other ways for you to move forward from it so that you can feel good about who you are, because that's all that really matters at this point for you. I hope that's helpful. Why do courts? Oh, okay. Courts typically don't care about infidelity in divorces because, oh gosh, I want to say it was the 70s, but it may have been the 60s, when most courts went to the idea of no fault divorce. So no finger pointing, no blaming, just saying, okay, you're getting divorced. We aren't going to point the finger, because by the time you do that, it makes people more miserable and it chews up a whole bunch of court time. right? So let's just do easy peasy divorces and move on down the road. Now, there are some states here in the US, I'm not sure about in other countries what the laws are, but here in the US, there are some states that still do allow what they call fault divorces, where infidelity does matter, but there aren't many of them. What other questions do you all have? Oh, Kylie, this is a great question. The only thing that really works for this is to have great communication. To ask the questions about, are you losing interest? What have you liked the most about, our adventure today, or anything like that that helps you to have communication and good feedback both ways. It's not just you trying to change for them or them trying to change for you, right? It's putting your relationship first and each working to build the relationship, and knowing that it's sometimes one partner will require more attention than the other partner, right? If it becomes lopsided, then there's a problem, right? But so long as y'all can keep having good communication and really talking about everything, all of your activities, including sexual, right? What is it that works and what isn't working so well, that you'll be able to know how well you and your partner are engaging each other's interest, and how well you're willing to, or how much effort you're willing to put into maintaining it. Serial cheating. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to diagnose anything. I'm just going to paint some broad strokes here, okay? So serial cheating is when somebody cheats again and again and again and again. Sometimes that is due to an addiction, a sexual addiction. And other times it's just by choice because they just enjoy it that much. Addiction is something that can be dealt with, right? Like any type of addiction. So there are programs that you can work through to deal with serial cheating in that form. Serial cheating that's just done by choice, right? That's somebody's personal choice that they're making again and again and again. And if it's not something that a qualified professional can diagnose as an addiction, then it's probably just going to continue to happen. I hope that's the expansion you were looking for. If not, try again and I'll answer it differently. I'll answer your question more specifically, I mean. It can be. It can definitely be viable. It will take careful thought. It will take commitment to respecting each other so that it is still a private matter between the two of you, right? If someone in the immediate orbit, as you put it, does find out, then the texture of the relationship will change, right? Because now there's outside pressure. But yes, it can work so long as the two of you remain incredibly respectful of each other and protective of each other. Hopefully that helps. It is possible. It's not easy, Tina. So if he is genuinely remorseful, then it's possible. And it can also happen with just you going to therapy. And I'm not saying this as it's all up to you or anything like that. What the point is that I'm trying to make is that the two of you have been doing a dance for a while, right? 31 years is quite a while to get into habits of behavior with each other, and that's what I'm calling the dance. When you stop dancing to that tune, it will cause him to have to choose how he's going to respond differently. He's going to have to make different steps in the dance if you're going to continue dancing together. And what can happen, I don't know that it will, but what can happen is that he may begin to recognize that maintaining his relationship with you is important enough that he is willing to go to therapy and or is willing to make the changes necessary for you both to feel good in the relationship. Again, it's all ifs, right? There's a lot of work to be done. And unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you exactly what will happen. It is possible, though, and I believe that was your question. I have to see my accent from you. Oh, yes, being triggered. Yeah, that's a real issue. There's no magic wand that I can wave over you or say to you anything that will 100% fix you feeling triggered. I wish there was. But some of the things that you can begin to do is recognize that the reason why you're feeling triggered is you still have feelings for him, right? And that's not good or bad, it just is, right? After a relationship that has lasted any stretch of time at all that was meaningful, right? You're going to have feelings for the person. So what often helps in this situation is to first realize that the person you're seeing is not the person you thought you were married to. It's not the person you thought you married. It is somebody entirely different. It's a stranger. This person that you're seeing is a complete stranger. And knowing what you know about them now, you probably wouldn't give them the time of day to be anyone close in your life. So if you can start shifting your perspective of them towards the idea of he's just a stranger now, and strangers typically don't have any control over how you feel. You can continue to practice that and remind yourself of that. It can help to lessen the triggers. It won't make them go away overnight, but it can help you to begin to lessen them. I hope that's helpful. Oh, thank you, Teresa. I'm so glad you appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Tina. My goodness. Thank you, ladies, so much for those words of encouragement that you understood my answers I was giving you. It's always so hard. I'm used to, having communication with someone directly. So this is a little bit different format. I just really want to make sure that y'all take something meaningful away from this talk. You're very welcome, Wendy. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, if there are any other questions, I want to thank each of you who did ask a question. Thank you so very much for doing that. I know it can be a bit challenging to go into a forum like this and ask questions, so I really applaud your courage to do so. And I know that everyone who saw your question and heard the answer gained something from it too. So thank you very much for your participation. And for those of you who weren't quite comfortable with asking a question in this forum, please know you can still reach out to me. You can reach me at email at Karen@drkarenfinn.com. And I hope to be able to speak with y'all again on another topic at some point in the future. Thank you again to Minds Journal for allowing me to be here for this Expert Mind Talks. Thank you.